Well, hello everybody. It's Wednesday, September 18, a magic day. Every 2 weeks, we have a cleaning crew that buzzes through here. 2 persons vacuuming and mopping and slopping, and for about an hour and a half they run around here cleaning up all kinds of things. I have a to-do list. I send them every 2 weeks anyway, so at 10:30 this morning they came in here and buzzed through, and they're all done, walked around and put things where they belong, and here we are, T-minus 48 hours until iPhone 16 gets FedExed or overnight delivery, would you believe, to 37 million people. 37 million people bought an iPhone 16 of several different models. I think I have a list in my little, as you can see as I'm paging up. It's easier to see this way. 3 at a time. Maybe this is the article. No, that's an article, but that's not the one. All right, let's. Wow, all kinds of newsy things. Nope. So what Apple has done with the new phones is, there we go. They have the iPhone 16. They have the iPhone 16 Pro and the iPhone 16 Pro Max. And let's see. Yeah. And what I read a little while ago is that 37 million people bought the new iPhone 16 on the day it opened up, which is 5 days ago. Last Friday at 8 a.m. Eastern, bam, they opened up the internet doors, and AT&T opened up its, and Verizon, everybody opened up their websites so that you could upgrade to the iPhone 16 from whatever model you have in your pocket. Now, one of the big changes since they started with the Pro and the Pro Max is that the Pro Max usually had, some little goodie that the 16 Pro wouldn't have, or the 15 Pro, or the 14 Pro. More telephoto in the zoom, optical zoom. But this year, the only difference between the iPhone 16 Pro and the iPhone 16 Pro Max is the size of the screen, which I've kind of shown here. You can see, the screen quality is so good. And if you wanted that little extra bit of portability, the difference in the diagonal measure of these is One measures 6.9 inches diagonal, the big one, and the iPhone 16 Pro is like 6.3. So it's a little more than a half inch more diagonal, which just gives you a little more real estate to see things if you're on the, if you're searching the web or you're taking photos, you get a little larger image. But a lot of people, opted to get the 16 Pro instead of the Pro Max because there's no advantage as far as its capability of taking photos or any other capability. The processor is the same, an 18, the Super A18 chip, which has hundreds of billions of transistors and 3 microns is the width of the wafer. 3 microns. So it makes it super efficient. Doesn't throw off a lot of heat where the thicker one does. With 12 microns, I think it went down to 7 microns. Now it's down to 3 microns, which is really skinny. 3 millionths. Ooh. Yeah. So that's the big deal there. 37 million of those suckers hit the doorstep of everybody that ordered them online, self-included. So by 10 a.m. or 10 or 11 before noon, I should have a box with a iPhone 16 Pro Max in it. One for me and one for Marilyn. And yes, sir. So that's the big talk of the town, because that's Friday morning. It's 2 days. By 2 o'clock in the afternoon, in 2 days, I will have opened up the box. I will have started and the way to do this, by the way, is don't touch the phone to your old phone to get things to transfer over. Don't do that. Because if there's any interruption or if one phone gets too far away from the other, then the transference, gets broken. And then you got to start all over. So the safest way is, on your new phone, is to, start it up where it says hello. You say hello, hello phone, and you swipe it up, and then it asks you, United States. You go through the alphabet to try to find your country code. I think it defaults to the USA, and if you're China or somewhere else, you have to scroll up on that list to find your country. Anyway, so you find your country, USA, for example, and then it asks you a few more questions. Is this phone for you or is it for someone else? And once you get through, then you have to sign in with your Apple ID, which is your email address and your secret code. And then it asks, from where do you want to retrieve your information? So you say the iCloud. And then you put your finger up on the top right corner where it says next. It's way up there. You're looking, down in the lower middle part of the screen. Crazy. But in the top right corner, you'll see Next in blue. So you touch that, and then it goes to the iCloud, to your account, which is, your Apple ID. They're changing that to some other vernacular, but your Apple something. But right now, I think it's Apple ID. And then it brings up a list of all your recent backups. This backup, that backup, your phone backup, your iPad backup. Well, you pick your phone. My phone probably, created a backup this morning. Seems like every morning around 10 o'clock a.m., my phone backs itself up, which is fine, I have the phone just the way I like it. The settings are all set the way I like it. And you click on the backup, today, 10:15 a.m., whatever, and click on it. And then it goes to town. And it comes up with a display with a little bar going across, showing you the progress of its backing up. It brings in all your apps. It brings in, seems like it brings in all your mail accounts, and it takes, I have like 400 and about 500 gigabytes of stuff. And it transfers, all that transfers into my phone in about 2 hours total. 2 hours. So you just put your phone down for a couple hours and that'll be all done, and you pick it up, and you want to retain your you want to retain your what do you call it, your cellular E something. Having a senior moment here. Let me look here. Sorry, folks. Well, it has to do with your cellular data number. You don't have a chip in the phone anymore. The little thing that slides in the top of the phone with all your account information. Oh, eSIM. Yeah, that's what it is. So you want to, retain the eSIM from your other phone into your new phone. So that happens automatically also. So, and then in 2 hours, your old phone is essentially disconnected from its eSIM, and your eSIM is then essentially moved into your new phone with your phone number and the ESN number of the chips inside and all that stuff, which is stuff you normally don't have to look at or pay attention to. But the way the cell system recognizes your phone number is matched to the MAC address of your phone, so that when your phone rings, in the system, it automatically goes right to your MAC address, and then your phone starts ringing. It's milliseconds, and your phone's ringing. When the system rings, your phone is ringing right away. Anyway, that's something you wanted to try to make a call. That's the first thing you should do, just to make sure everything is working. Call a husband, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. Make a call. So, and then everything else should be, the way things look when you turn it on should be pretty much identical to the way things looked with your previous phone. And then whatever deal you made with your phone company, AT&T has you can turn your phone in anytime after 12 months. Can't turn it in before 12 months. It has to be 12 months or more. It could be the 13th month, 15th, 18th, 24th month, the 30th month on a 36-month contract. But let's say you do it in month 12, because these things get renewed every year. So, and what AT&T does is, in exchange for returning your old phone, your 1-year-old phone, they cancel the remaining 24 payments. The way the deal is, you buy a phone. Let's say it's $1,200. So, you have a 36-month contract. Let's see, 36. Let's say it's an $1,800 phone. Let's just say that. So what they do is you just take the gross amount of your phone without sales tax. You got to pay that up front. They take the price of the phone without sales tax, and divide that by 36, and that's your monthly payment. There's no interest. It's an interest-free arrangement. So why anyone would, pay the $1,600, when you can essentially finance it with AT&T with zero interest, and you keep your money in your pocket. That's an easy decision. When they have an interest charge on there, then you have a contemplation. Do you is it worth it, to finance it, or is it better to just write a check and buy the phone? So you don't have payments, and you don't have interest accrued and all that kind of stuff. But there's no interest, so they just take your full price divided by 36, and that's your monthly payment. Simple as that. The sales tax is paid up front. So to me, that's like a phone lease. You turn it in every 18 months, every 13 months, whatever number once you want, and the remaining payments are canceled, and they restart the meter to month 1, divided by 36, whatever the price of your phone is. In our case, it's $1,600, because we get the maximum memory, and we have the maximum screen size. So we basically, I think Maryland is 500 gigabytes, and I think my phone is 1,000 gigabytes, because I have 92,000 pictures on my phone. Would you believe it? 92. It may even be more. Let's see if can I see the number of pictures somewhere here. I know where you can see the pictures. We're going to go here. We're going to go to settings, and then you go to general, and then you go to about. There it is, right in the middle of your screen. 93,147. No, that is not the serial number of the device. That is the number of photos. Yeah. And you see I have a 1 terabyte capacity, which is 1,024 gigabytes is a terabyte. And I've used 512 gigabytes with all my photos and 905 songs and 499 videos, and oh my god, 727 applications. Oh god, we need to get in there and clean house. Anyway, that takes up about 500 gigabytes. And I have 500 gigabytes available. Yeah, well, 483 gigabytes available. 483.8, excuse me. And then you can see there's my data line number, AT&T 59.0. So this thing is properly connected to the internet. And, not now. I don't want that. They're always plugging. If you want to sign up for a subscription thingy. And no, I don't want to. All right, I'm looking up on this iPad here. Let's see. There we go. About. There we go. 93,089. Hasn't quite picked up on all the rest of the photos. Right, AppleCare Plus. This AppleCare Plus warranty. This is a newer one. I had a damaged iPad. I sent it in. I have an Assure product insurance thing, and it insures for like $30 a month. It insures 4 devices, like iPhones, iPads, and so forth. So I insured my phone, Marilyn's phone, her iPad, and my iPad. Well, this iPad wouldn't take a charge. So I called them up, and if you call them before 5 p.m. Eastern time, like if you call them at 2 p.m. Or 11 p.m., 11 a.m., I'm sorry, and tell them what the problem is, and they'll ask you a few questions, and if your iPad is dead, you just say it's dead, and they'll send you another one. And I think the copay was like $275, and you get a brand new iPad, and you send them back the old one, and that's that. So I'm not completely connected to the internet yet on the new iPad here, because where it says cellular data number, let's see down here, oops, about where it says cellular data number, this has a phone number, 2358777, and this one doesn't have a cellular data number. So this is not connected to the cell system. So if you're outside and you weren't connected to any, internet, which I suggest you don't, because you don't know who's in that network with you. Could be a bad guy. So it's better to turn off your Wi-Fi. That's why it says Wi-Fi. Right on the top there's a switch. So Wi-Fi, you see that green switch on the top? Just touch that, it clicks over, and all your Wi-Fi is off. And then it connects through your cell system. So, and you would use that for like sending text messages or making a phone call from your iPad. You can do that. So, when you're outside and you're in a cafe or something, don't sign on. Don't ask the cafe people, what your, what the password is to your, your local Wi-Fi, because you don't know who's in the net, in that group. There could be a bad guy sitting 3 seats away from you, hacking your bank accounts. And so turn off your Wi-Fi and allow your iPad to use the cell system. That brings up another issue. When you're buying your iPad, make sure you include the cellular chipset, and it just says you want cellular, and you say yes. And then when you get your iPad, you call your provider, and they'll assign a digital phone number to your SIM card, your SIM that's embedded in your iPad. There's no little sliding drawer up on the top anymore. Like this is an old iPad, and it has an actual SIM card in there. But the new iPads don't have the SIM card slot. It's called an eSIM instead of just a SIM, S-I-M. System something, all your information about your account is in that SIM card. Your account number, your account ID, encrypted in there is your password, so that if you log in, you're going to have to put your password in, and it has to match what the SIM wants to see, or else it won't do what you want to do. So they made it so you have an eSIM now. There you go. I gotta call AT&T. I'll probably do that this afternoon. Get this figured out. Whatever the old iPad, whatever the data line was for the old iPad, they can look that up and assign it to this iPad. That didn't carry over when I used the backup. It should be 8. You see it in the very top, 866-7070, but it didn't come over. So I need to get AT&T to do it. Yep. And you give them the IMEI number, which is in the middle of the screen. Oops. About. Yeah, see, IMEI starts with the number 35, and it's got a whole bunch of digits and ends in 5. Yep. That basically is the digital address of the chip that's in the iPad, the cellular chip that's in the iPad. That's connected to that IMEI number, and also that ICC ID. Hopefully I don't have to give them that number because it's a real big one. Yeah. ICC ID. Remember, I don't even have an ICC ID because I don't have it. It hasn't assigned one because this chipset here is not activated with a cellular data line number. So I need to get that done. So I'll get on my phone and dial 611. That gets you right into AT&T. And then, I think you press a 1. And it gets right through to somebody. You tell them what you want to do, and then they connect you with the right party. And that's where that goes. And so you wonder why I have the United States Bankruptcy Court of the Southern District of New York, because Tupperware filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Can you imagine Tupperware files for bankruptcy? That's is that the beginning of a whole bunch of things that are going to go on in our society? The start or end, the start of a mini recession. Well, we'll find out. But on Friday, the new phones come out. Sorry, Bob. So, oh, sorry. Siri, stop. I said Bob, and my iPad showed me Bob Beatty's phone number. Do you want to call him? No, I don't want to call him. Not yet. That's Uncle Bob. Yeah. So this is a cruise missile. This is the Barracuda 500. So there's a 500 on there, which means it can go 500 nautical miles, which is the equivalent of 575 miles. That's the range. That can. It can be launched from ground, or it can be dropped from an airplane. In the nose cone of this guy, is, all your radar information and telemetry. That whole bundle is in that silver tip. And the next part of it is a warhead, some kind of explosive, C4 or C5 or whatever explosive is in there. It can carry up to, I think, 40 pounds of explosive material. It's got 50% fewer parts. It's 30% cheaper to make, and 95% fewer tools to put it together. That's the characteristics of the whole Barracuda line. Here's a Barracuda 100 that has a 100 nautical mile range, which is like 120 miles, if you drive it on the ground. But if you're up in the air, it's 100 nautical miles. That's why it's got 100 on there. This is a 500. I've got also a picture of a I thought I had a picture of a 300. There's a new weapon, a high-tech military weapon you never believed were real. That's a laser gun. So instead of having a bullet leave the rifle barrel at Mach 2, when you have the drop of the bullet because of the Earth's gravitational effect on the bullet. So you set your settings on the side of your telescopic sight or your optical sight, if you have an optical sight, and you just squeeze the trigger, and a pulse of laser light gets thrown towards the object, and it instantly vaporizes. Now the beam can be wide, so the whole front of something vaporizes. If you're shooting a person, it's not a good thing, because it'll just burn half of you. If you have it focused to a fine, it'll burn a hole in you, and you instantly just drop to the ground. And there's no lead. There's no, takes a second to get there. There's no bang. It doesn't make any noise. You just send a light beam over there, and bam, you just burned a hole in something. I mean, that's, God. If you hold the trigger and pull it sideways, you cut whoever you're talking about in half. Cuts him in half. You drag it across their neck, whoop, head pops off. And And then you got two pieces that fall to the ground, the body and the head. Yeah, it's crazy. And, all the FA-18 jets, I wouldn't say all, but whatever jets have been assigned this laser cannon technology, there's no recoil. It's a light beam. It's a laser light beam, but super high power. The ones that you throw around in your hand for pointing on a map, if you're giving a talk to a group of people and you have a chart up there and you want people to notice a certain part of the chart, you put your little, you wave your little pointing device. Well, that's like 50 milliwatts. 50 thousandths of 1 watt. So that's a very low energy laser light beam, but you're not trying to burn a hole in the chart. You're just trying to have people notice the red laser light, if it's a red one or a green one, when you point it onto whatever statistics is on your chart or a map. You point to the name of the city on the map you're talking about. Whatever. Oh, another important thing you see here, I'm jiggling a little bit. iOS 18. So that iOS would mean it's the operating system for your iPhone. So you should be updating it. It was released, I believe, yesterday. So you should update your phone to iOS 18. And you go in the settings. I'll show you real quickly how to do it. So there's your settings screen. Hit touch general and then touch software update. And it's hunting in my case, and it's verifying that I have iOS 18 on there. So I don't have an update coming. I'm not taking any beta software. I am a public beta tester, but now that 18 has been released to the public, I turned off the beta because I don't want beta anymore. Because that might come across with some things that don't. Certain devices won't work with it, until it gets the bugs ironed out of it. So I don't want to do that anymore for a few months. Let's let iOS 18 that's released to the public. We'll just keep that in our devices. So if I was updating the iPad, there would be iPad OS, the iPad OS. iOS 18 just means that's for the iPhone. Yeah, but they have an operating system for the iPad and the iPhone separate. They're separate because there's so much more screen real estate in an iPad. They've actually decided to have a separate operating system for the iPad as opposed to your iPhone. So iOS 18 would be for your phone, and iPad OS 18 would be for your iPad. That's pretty simple. Yep. So everyone's all excited about the iPhone, yourself included. All right, looks like we're not going to have a shutdown of our government because it's the end of this month. 9/30, 9th month, /30, 9/30. April, June, and November have 31, and all the rest have 30. Except for February. Yep. So September 30 is the year end for the United States government, the fiscal year end is 9/30, as opposed to the calendar year end, which most businesses in the USA end with the end of our calendar year, which would be 12/31. But the U.S. government, for some reason, there is a reason, way back when, and I don't know when, I don't know how way back you have to go, but the U.S. government decided 9/30, which was 3 months before 12/31. It's a quarter earlier. Anyway, the U.S. government, their fiscal year end is 9/30, as opposed to a calendar year end, which would be 12/31. So if you see a financial statement of the United States government, it'll say 9/30, 2023. So about 2 months after 9/30, 10, 11, so about, the end of November, we should have a financial statement for the U.S. government, and it would be as of 9/30, 2024. But you won't see that until November or December. But they stop the clock and count the change as of 9/30. Then they add everything up, and there's all kinds of assets. I mean, the U.S. government has 30,000 vacant buildings in its inventory of properties. 30,000. Now, Elon Musk said he wanted to, straighten out some waste. Well, there's billions of dollars. All these buildings are air conditioned, heated. They have a cleaning crew that cleans and mops the floors every month or two. And the buildings are sitting there just empty, cleaned, waiting for something to happen. So what Elon Musk needs to, if he gets in there, if they decide to, that's certainly something they should attack. When you got 30,000 vacant buildings. So you assign so many buildings per agency, which I'm sure that's how it happened, and it just keeps building up, and no one has been incented to get in there and close them up, get all that cash and pay off the national debt. Hello? That doesn't take a genius to do that, right? So Elon, get on it. It's amazing. Anyway, so every year the government officials say we're going to clean up fraud, waste, and misuse. Well, get on those 30,000 empty. They guard them. They're connected to the utilities. They have lights on, not full bright, but there's some, and the lights are on. What? 30,000 buildings, not 30,000 square feet. They're buildings. Oh God knows. I mean, some of them are big buildings. And a lot of them are not so big. But it's 30,000 of them. That's a lot of buildings. And, they're probably peppered all over the United States with a whole bunch of them in the Washington, D.C. area. So I guess when a company outgrows, one of the properties that the U.S. government owns, and they can't expand, into a bigger building because they've already outgrown the largest building that's in the inventory of those 30,000 buildings. I'm making the story up. Then they would get out of the system and go find another building. So the building from which they moved would then be a vacant building. And there you go. Now it's 30,001. Because you got someone moved out of one of the buildings, and now it's not a vacant, empty, clean building. It's someone, they'd have to hire somebody. If it's a government property, the government would have to hire somebody to get in there and clean it out, get rid of the garbage, seal it back up. So that's that. There's another story about the iPhone 16 Pro and Pro Max. Battery life is epic. There's a word for you. Usually these suckers, the battery life is like 10 or 11 hours, and if you're on let's say you're out of town, so in the morning you charge it up, you got your phone in the pocket, you have to exchange a couple of text messages with your office, what's my messages, so they send them the list of messages you got either through your desk here in Washington, and then you have mail and stuff. So they scan everything, they send 100,000 byte digital file. One number for each of the 10, 20, 33 numbers of iPads and toasters. So anyway, iPad week, iPhone week. Whew. Ukraine war analyst says Russia keeps surprising the Ukrainians with just how bad its soldiers are. The bar is very, very low. Apparently these soldiers aren't well trained, and they learn how to do things on a very precise location and time and so forth, and they haven't apparently, it looks like a huge hunk of metal. Anyway, if they get it cut down to enough pieces, I guess they don't want the engine. I think I just got airmailed. The operating system for iOS 18. Wham! Someone just threw it at me. Oh gosh. Secrecy is the cornerstone of Hezbollah's military strategy, except for the fact that someone commandeered like 3,000 pagers. The supreme being, the supreme, whatever they call them, in Iran, told everybody, your cell phones, if you use that in the war effort, it's just like a remote control telling somebody where your phone is, which is usually in your pocket. So it turns into a beautiful tracking device for the enemy. So don't use your cell phones in wartime. Get a pager. So they bought, like 10,000 pagers. Well, the bad news about that is the last or the second to last batch was commandeered by the Hezbollah Air Force, let's say. So you got the pilot in there. You got everyone starts using the contents of this supplier's requirements, and which would be most of the bottles of water. Anyway, I have it by the case. So I've got 2, 4, 6, 8. I got I think 10 bags, the equivalent of 10 bags of ice, and off a couple of like 4 or 5 liters of fluid. Yep. That's about as much as energy as it'll take. Anyway, so getting back to Hezbollah. So Hezbollah decides, because of what the Supreme Leader said, all right, so don't use your cell phones anymore for, in the war effort, turn your phones off. You get one of these pager things, clip it on the side of your waist, or keep it real close to you if you're a woman. And in unison, they let them get up walking around. Okay. Well, just looking at pictures of Uniondale, New York, where Trump is going to give a speech this evening, and they're all lined up there like grass. You can see them at the very top screen over here. There's an aerial view of Uniondale, a bird's eye view from a drone, probably. They expect 75,000 people. Can you believe it? It's like a whole city worth of people just to look at Trump and listen to him talk. I turn on TV. Yeah, and I go to either Fox or Newsmax or a network called RSBN. Let me show you what that looks like. So from this screen, let me get it on here, on your viewing thing. I'll add it. There it is. So now it's on the right side of the screen. See, I'm jiggling it. So you put your finger right in the middle of the screen and pull down. And where it says search, just type in RSBN. Right Side Broadcasting Network. And see that icon comes up? Just touch on it. Now we're in the RSBN network. And if I watch live, it'll probably go to this Uniondale, New York, because they're undoubtedly going to broadcast. No, not yet. This is a live. That's some kind of a hearing. District 10, District 30. It looks like a state. The state of confusion. I don't know what this hearing is, but we don't want it. Yeah, no, we don't want that. Not too sure how to close out of that. Live. Oh, this is AirPlay. All right. We'll just totally close out of it. There we go. So it won't be ready. I think that, that's like 6 or 7 o'clock at night. So it's a little early. So maybe T-minus 2 hours, RSBN will pick it up, and they have a couple of broadcasters that chit-chat about the crowd and, whatever, Trump was, another person with a rifle was within a couple of 100 yards of where the president was playing golf. Sitting in there's a big ficus hedge that goes all the way around the property. When Trump bought it, he made sure there was cypress, and they grow in the shape of the way in which you trim them and cut them. So after a few years, the ficus hedge gets really thick, dense, and if you're trimming it, it goes straight up, and it creates a wall, of ficus. Well, down below where the roots are, where the trunks are, there may not be quite so much vegetation, particularly if someone trims a little hole. Well, someone apparently did, and right around the 6th hole of the golf course, the 5th and 6th holes comes around the southeast corner of the property, and you can sit there and, with your camera, you can get a candid picture of Trump playing golf and when he's practicing his golf swing and all that. Well, this guy's, got an AK-47 styled rifle of unknown brand. There's 100 different companies that make AK-47 styled rifles, which just means it has a trigger, a magazine slot in the bottom of it, a barrel that goes this way, at least 16 and a half inches long, and you got a stock and a thing that goes on your shoulder, and they call that an AK-47, but it's not. It's something else, depending on who's making it, and they're usually tooled for a NATO round, which is a 5.6 shell. The bullet is 5.6 millimeters in diameter. That's what the 5.6 means. And has a big casing, that's 2.5 inches long, brass. They fill it about halfway with a very special kind of, black powder, explosive, and a firing pin. And so when that cartridge is put in the chamber of the rifle, which loads from the magazine, you can manually load it also. So let's just assume you have a magazine there. You pull this thing back, and then it pushes a fresh shell in there, and then you're ready to shoot. And keep your finger off the trigger until you're actually ready to shoot. Anyway, so this guy had one of those rifles. He got there at like 1 a.m. And he just parked himself, right where some of the news people, usually go there with a lens to, take a picture of him. Well, he had a telescopic sight on an AK-47 style rifle, loaded with ammunition, and he's been there overnight, sitting there from 1 a.m. to, when all the activities started, which was, I think around 2 p.m. Trump probably met somebody at the lunch thing, and they had a little bite to eat, maybe a half a sandwich, or who knows, iced tea. They take their drink in a to-go cup, they get in their golf cart, they go to the first hole, and they tee off at, let's say, noon, or 12:30, or something. Well, by 2, he was coming around on the 5th hole. As a matter of fact, he just, hit his second or third shot right on the green, right near the pin, and he's walking proudly up to the 5th green, and the Secret Service is got some people one hole ahead of him, and they're checking out everything around the golf course that the president is about ready to encounter as he drives his cart, into the 6th tee, after the 5th hole putting green, coming around the corner. And the Secret Service agent saw the barrel, the front end of this rifle peering through the chain link fence. So bang, 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 bang. So the Secret Service guy fires 4 or 5 rounds at the rifle. The guy jumps out and runs, leaves his rifle, leaves his backpacks, and he had a GoPro camera stuck in the chain link fence, and so he could record him shooting the president. Can you believe this shitheads? And so he ran off, and apparently someone, just standing around there, maybe waiting for a bus or who the hell knows. But there was, just a spectator walking the streets, sidewalks, and he sees what the hell's going on. So he takes a picture of the guy running for his car and takes a picture of the rear end of the car and the license plate. And this guy takes off, and then the guy on the street, runs over to where all the commotion is, and he says, "Here, I got a picture of the truck, of the guy, and the license plate on my phone here. Take those 3 images off my phone, and you can go chase after this guy." So they did, and they caught him right away. Can you believe it? He got about 30 miles up the road. By the time they transmitted the information, he got the Palm Beach County, and then the Martin County up above that, and so they caught him, right in the next county to the north of Palm Beach County, and they cuffed the guy, and oh boy, made sure the car didn't have explosives in it. When you're dealing with a wacko like that, God knows what else he could have with him, but apparently he didn't have anything else with him. Anyway, so he's being interrogated by the FBI this very minute. They've probably been interrogating him, for 23 hours in a row. They have civil liberties, and so it's not like we're a banana republic and you can start caning somebody right away. So if he doesn't want to talk, you're not going to get much out of him. Be nice to know why you're doing this. Did anyone send you to do this? Do you have any companions, that'd be fulfilling the role that you're not going to be able to complete because you were occupied in our jails? Yeah. So that's what happened at the Trump International golf course up there in West Palm Beach, just west of Mar-a-Lago. West and I believe a little bit north, as the crow flies. So here's anyway. So here's this thing with the Israeli military, or Mossad, which is like the Secret Service of the Secret Service. They apparently found out about Hezbollah ordering, 5,000 or 10,000 pagers, because the Supreme Being said, don't use your cell phones anymore when you're in a combat situation. Turn your phones off when you're at war, because the enemy can trace the phone and listen to you, even though they're not supposed to be able to. They can, because they have a back door apparently where they can do that. So they decided they're going to communicate with each other using pagers, because that way they can do that secretly and not use the cell system. And, the pagers are capable of sending a brief text message, so you can text back and forth. And will beep also as a beeper, because let's say you have it in your pocket or in your purse or on your belt, it beeps a couple of times, and then you can look at your pager and see what message is going to pop up there. Well, what message popped up there was BAM! There was an explosive charge in all these beepers, and 3,000 of them exploded simultaneously all over, Iran, where these Hezbollah senior people had beepers. And, if they didn't get it off their waist fast enough, it blew a hole in the side of their body. Or if they were looking at it, it blew their faces off. But it killed at least 20 or 30 people, injured 2,000. So you got 2,000 people showing up to the hospitals. So they're all registering themselves in the hospital. And Mossad is getting the names and addresses of the 2,800 people that didn't get killed with the explosive. So they got a huge chunk of the entire Hezbollah network, because they have the rolls of people that got in all the hospitals. And, before the Mossad, or before Hezbollah could figure out what the hell's going on. So that was a couple of days ago. Well, guess what happened today? They have, walkie-talkies also, radios. Well, 2,000 radios blew up today, simultaneously at the same time. BAM! Oh, jeez. I tell you, this man's inhumanity to man. So they're trying to get the bad guys. Israel is trying to knock out the bad guys. So they've just figured out how to, only the senior people have radios. The more senior people than people that had beepers. So now they got the senior echelon with an explosive charge that went pop today. Oh, God Almighty! Phew. Oh. Well, look at that. The Teamsters telephone poll. 58% of the Teamsters are voting for Trump, and 31% are voting for Harris. Now that's amazing. 68% of the Teamsters are going to vote for the multi-billionaire, as opposed to the current Vice President of the United States. It's just a telephone poll that came out this hour. Let's see. Let's go to. This is all live broadcast. See, and by the way, this is a Simulcast. Did you know that? This is being live broadcasted on Facebook. My symbol is the @ FAU4U, because I'm adjunct faculty at FAU, and then the number 4, and then the letter U for FAU4U. That's my handle on Facebook Live, and also for YouTube Live, and my Twitter Live, or X, the Twitter, formerly known as Twitter, is JIMW, with a capital J, capital W, JIMW 5596, with the @ in front of it. It should be, the FAU4U, but I did something wrong, on Twitter, and they locked me out. It says, you are suspended. And they won't tell me why. They just say, you haven't followed the rules, right? And so I don't know what the hell rule I didn't follow, and someone saw it and zapped me. And I don't know how to unzap me. So I created another account, which is the Jim W 5596. And that's if you had a touchpad phone, that would be 5596 JLWM. M for Maryland. JLW for my initials. That's the 55. The 9 is the W. 559. And then it goes M for Maryland. I'm going to go to real. See on the very bottom row of icons, 1, 2, 3, 4. The fifth one from the right is RCL, Real Clear Politics. Let's see if there's any more recent polling information. So I'm going to touch polls. Oh, it just has. Oh, here we go. So we got this September. Are we in a time tunnel? There's the 18th, right? All right. Wednesday the 18th. This is Wednesday the 18th. How do they have Friday the 20th already? We have this. Yeah, something's not right there. Quinnipiac has Harris up 1 for Wisconsin. Michigan, Harris is up 5. Pennsylvania, this is Quinnipiac. And Georgia, Trump by 3 by the Atlantic Constitution. Anyway, these are all tie races. And this is like New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Rhode Island. They're all, heavily blue states. Yeah. So, that's Real Clear Politics. Get rid of that. Let's go RSBN. There we go. That's home. Let's go news. Your vote really matters. Elon Musk shares Trump's post encouraging early voting. I love it that Elon Musk is hovering around Trump. That's a good sign because Elon is he's not a righty. He's a middle of the road guy. Obviously, SpaceX, Tesla, and his other ventures, the tunneling company. He's a multi-billionaire, like 200 billion. A billion is 1,000 million. Woo! Phew. So that's news. Let's hit live and see what happens. There we go. Uniondale, New York. You can see it. I don't think you can hear it. There's something about rebroadcasting the audio that the networks don't let you do. So there's Uniondale, New York. Look at all those people. They're all waiting in line, going through the processing. They're shaking everybody down to make sure they don't have weapons, hand grenades. And then they go from that line to another line. I mean, it's like, look at all these people. The camera is swinging around. Holy mackerel. This is a blue state. Look at all these Trumpers. Look at all the red caps. Holy crap. They're all excited. Trump, aside from when he was president, he's a celebrity all by himself. They don't need a concert, a Bruce Springsteen concert to draw the people in. And then after a half hour of playing, they run off the stage, and then the politician starts talking. and everybody heads through the back door, to get out of there. Nope, these people are here to see Trump. He is the celebrity. And it is they know how to do this because they've had several hundred of them over the past, 10 years. Because remember, this is a guy that was president, and, in 2015, he was starting to have, things like this. Rallies. This is a 7 p.m. rally. Look at all these people. It's 3 in the afternoon. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They got 4 hours of just standing there looking at each other before Trump gets anywhere near a stage. Woo! They started lining up last night. I've been told that the people started lining up at midnight last night. That's a Trumper. Look at this. Look at that flag blowing. Yep. So this is Uniondale, New York, which is probably. I grew up in Long Island. I wasn't very. I didn't do a lot of driving around, so I went to Jones Beach. I went to Gilgo Beach, which was immediately south of where I lived. I lived on the North Shore in what's called Roslyn Heights, East Hills. I think the East Hills portion of Roslyn Heights. No New York accent, though, because my mother was a linguist, English and French scholar. She was valedictorian of the Jamaica High School in Jamaica, New York, which graduated 2,500 students. She was the number one student. That's what a valedictorian is. And then went to Vassar. So she knew 5 languages fluently. Can you believe it? I don't know how people can know 5 languages, including French, German, English, Latin, and another language which I can't think of at the moment. We sang French songs in French at dinner time, so Frère Jacques, dormez-vous. No more. Yeah, I mean, we sang these songs at dinner time. Oh, God. In French. Several French songs that the French sing at their tables. My mother was very astute in doing things the way the native land did things. So German, French, English, Latin. What was that 5th language? Well, maybe it was Spanish. That sounds kind of parochial, doesn't it? Spanish. I mean, it's a language you want to know now. French used to be the international language 100 years ago. It wasn't English. It was French. English became the international language, in the 1900s somewhere, I don't know whether it was in the 1910s or the 1930s, but English became the international language. But before then, it was French. That was the language of the UN and all, all this, or, whatever these political organizations were back in the 1800s, late 1800s, early 1900s. French was the international language. So if you were German, you knew German and French, because German was your country language and French was the international language. And most of these European students, regardless of which country, knew at least two languages. One of them, including, was your country language and the international language, which back then was French. Today, if you were a Germanic person from Germany, you would know German and you would know English, because English today is the international language. But since most of those people knew French, regardless of where you were in Europe, a lot of the Europeans know three languages. They know their native language, they know French because it was the international language, and they know English, the now international language. But you'll find many high school graduates are fluent in three languages. Yeah. Look at all these people. I'm looking at that screen. My God, it goes, look at it. Holy crap. There's a lot of heads. If you look in the back, oh my God, as far as you can see, they're salt and pepper red hats. That's a lot of hats at $29 a hat. Yeah, they don't give those suckers away. They're like, you get them on sale, it might be $25. But let's just say 25. I think today, if you go on a website and want a political hat, it's $30 plus shipping. Look at that. Look at, oh my God, it goes all the way back. Yep, that's a lot of people. And they were online for, yeah, I can hear a little language out here. I don't know if I can get anything out of this guy. Seeing if I get some sound. No. It won't do sound. See, I have this. This is a pretty nice setup I have here. I have this. You see over here. This is an iPad over here. This screen up here is the control. This is the control station of this entire little network thing I got going here. All right. Let's get this thing up. Yeah, there we go. It got moved. So if I do, let's do a full screen. All right. So over here is the screen at Uniondale, New York. This is an iPad. You can pull it. It's an old iPad, which I'm using as like a TV monitor. Now this is connected to. Let me turn the brightness down a little bit. So, there we go. Now you can see it. The camera is so sensitive. I have to turn these screens way down, or else you can't see what's going on. This screen up here. Turn this one down. This is a live broadcast. It's a delayed broadcast of Fox News. It's 3:32 p.m. So you can see Martha McCallum up there. And they're interviewing, they're talking about the guy they caught in the chain link fence. Somebody trying to shoot Trump. Can you believe it? Fuck. Oh, excuse me. You know, this, what do you call it? The Secret Service are just not doing their job. How can they allow someone, that guy was camped out on the fence of the Trump International Golf Course, where Trump plays golf every Sunday, Saturday, Sunday, maybe both days, with his friends. He's got a friend or two, or 3 or 4 or 10 or 100. And he's always playing golf with somebody, or his granddaughter, for Pete's sake, who is an outstanding golfer. I understand she's a scratch golfer. Trump is like a 2 or 3 handicapper, which isn't bad for an old fart. That's not bad for a young fart. Yeah. Anyway, so he's, Sunday afternoon, you meet somebody at lunch, they have a sandwich or half a sandwich, they get themselves a to-go beverage, they get on their golf cart, for 12:30 tee-off. So he tees off at 12:30, 12:30, 1, 1:30, 2, about 2 o'clock. They've played, 4.5 holes. They've hit their drive. They've hit their second shot. Trump is on the green for a birdie putt. Bang, 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 bang. And the Secret Service people are shooting at the fence because they saw the barrel of his rifle, which he stuck through the chain link fence, getting ready to sight up Trump as he rides, up the 6th fairway, because that portion of the fence is covering the fairway. So, Trump would get out of after his nice tee shot, and he'd be right parallel with this guy, and it's 50 yards away. Bam! You can't miss somebody 50 yards away with with an optical sight on a rifle. It's, and you're resting it on a chain link fence, so you essentially have half a tripod, so you're not going to have any shake. Oh, God. Now, wouldn't you think that, at like 10 in the morning, 11 in the morning, you'd have a Secret Service guy or a Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office guy with a dog walking all the way around the perimeter of the property. Two guys, 2 dogs, walk the perimeter of the Trump International property, which is, probably 400 acres, tops. So 400 acres is, that's 20 acres, 20 by 20 is 400, right? So 20 acres on each edge, if it's a square piece of property. So, let me do the math. An acre is 209 feet on each edge. 200 by 200 is, how many square feet there is in an acre. 43,500 square feet. Anyway, so 209, and you multiply that by 20. So that's like 400 feet. That's not a big deal. That's a little more than a football field length on each edge. So you have 2 guys walking, opposite each other around this big property. They got radios and things, they can keep in touch. And if they see anybody, they grab them by the back of the neck and put handcuffs on them. This guy had sandwiches and everything else in his backpack. He was camped out on the fence of the Trump International property, waiting for Trump to get lined up with him, and he's got an AK-47 style rifle with a 5.6 with a NATO round chambering, which is with all the NATO 75% of all the police departments, that have rifles, they carry the NATO round, which is 5.56, also known as 5.56, which is the caliber of the bullet, little tiny bullet. It's like smaller than the tip of this pencil, about that long. It'd be a little bit smaller in diameter than this. This is more like a 9mm, which is 9 millimeters across. 5.56 is 5.56 millimeters. That's the caliber. And basically the diameter of the barrel, you know. Yep. I have a 5.7 chambered handgun. But it's not a rifle shot, it's a handgun shot. And it's, you know, it's a supersonic, same little tiny bullet. I happen to have one right here. I'll get one of these out and you get an idea what a 5.56 looks like. But this is instead of 5.56, this is 5.7. It's slightly bigger. There we go. So I got 3 magazines. That's the handgun. Let me turn the lights up a little bit. There we go. So this is what that see? So that looks like the kind of a bullet that you see on TV. But this is much smaller. The bullet's about the same size, but the chamber, you know, the amount of gunpowder, this back part is a lot bigger with a 5.56, the NATO round. So it shoots something out at like 3,000 feet per second, you know, very high, and this is a very high velocity, little tiny bullet also. This gun is pretty, I would say pretty rare. Smith & Wesson makes it. This handgun is right there, yep. Has a threaded barrel. I have a silencer. Yeah. Took me a year to get it. Took me a year to get approved by the ATF. And it's not because there's anything wrong with my background. It's because they're just slow. And I have I'll show you the silencer. Yep, it's in here. It's in a box. In my studio right here. Let's see, how do I get in this box? There we go. See, it says Wilson on there. James Wilson. That's me. See, you know, I paid for this thing like 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, and then a Silencer Co. sends it down to the local dealer. That you know, it's a gun shop, licensed. So this is a silencer. You know, it's a thing that screws on, you know, to the front end of a handgun or a rifle. It's chambered for 9mm. You see, it looks straight through there. There you go. You can see and the bullet goes through there. So there's some chambers, and it reduces the flash, and it cuts down the sound. You know, in the movies, it's real quiet. In real life, it's not so quiet. So I have a rifle behind me, which I'm not going to get out because it's behind that picture. You know, it's a AK style rifle, but it's not an AK-47. It's I guess a Smith & Wesson, yeah. Smith & Wesson rifle, chambered for 9mm. And then I have a whole case of right here. in this little studio here. I'm armed and dangerous. I've got 1,000 rounds of super high speed 9mm. So it's a supersonic bullet. It goes 1,300 feet per second out of a 6-inch barrel. Well, when it comes out of a 16-inch barrel, that, the energy from the explosion in that bullet travels up the whole chamber, and it comes out like twice as fast. So it's almost 3,000 feet per second. It's not quite. It's like 2,700 feet per second, which is supersonic. It's like Mach 2. A little tiny bullet going at Mach 2. When it hits something, it explodes it. Like if you have a gallon of water in a plastic jug, like you get a gallon of water, spring water or whatever, distilled water. I buy a lot of distilled water. I make distilled water ice cubes. Anyway, if you got a gallon jug 150 yards in front of you, you get your rifle, your telescopic sight is sighted in, and you pull the trigger and it hits that gallon jug, the whole thing explodes. You'd think the bullet would just go straight through. No. As soon as that bullet pierces the very thin layer of the polyethylene water jug, when it gets the water, it just starts, because that bullet is turning. And it's a hollow point. So the bullet just opens up and turns and just creates so much pressure from the twisting, and all this lead is spreading out in 5 different directions at once, and it grabs that water and twists it and just explodes the whole jug. Same thing, if you hit a watermelon, bam, it explodes it. Well, if it hits that, if you shoot a head, it explodes the head. So, or it hits here, it's going to explode your chest. So these high-speed rifles with a variety of different ammunition. So, I chose to have my rifle chambered because you can, these rifles are manufactured, for 5.56, for 9mm. You can get them chambered for, handgun, revolver ammunition. So I figured I'd get it chambered in the 9mm because I got 4 or 5 other 9mm handguns. So I have, 1,000 rounds, more than 1,000 rounds of 9mm ammunition. So might as well have all these devices chambered in the same thing, except I've got one. I guess it's okay to use it. I got one bastard gun. One gun that's not part of the family. That's chambered in 5.7. So it's a super high velocity, tiny little bullet that shoots out of a handgun. And my silencer screws on the front end of that handgun too. So, because in fact, I had the local arms dealer call the manufacturer of the silencer company and to see if I could use the silencer on a 5.7 handgun. And 5.7 millimeters is smaller than 9 millimeters. So it'll go through that same opening because the bullet is actually smaller. You may not have the same silencing because it's supposed to be a silencer. So the sound suppression may not be, as specified when you have the 9 millimeter going through the chambering of that silencer, because the baffles are all, like 9.5 millimeter. So the bullet goes right through, 5 or 6 or 8 baffles, which are, different. Every inch or so there's a baffle in that silencer. So as the bullet is traveling out of your rifle barrel, it goes through a buffer, then another buffer, then another buffer, and it travels through, rapidly through 7 or 8 of these baffles. And every time it does that, it tends to quiet the sound of the explosion, so to speak, because of the exploding cartridge. And it also suppresses the flash, because, you have a flash that comes out, like flame. It's flash because of the exploding gunpowder that's inside the bullet casing. Well, when that explodes, that creates pressure and pushes that bullet through the barrel, and you have all this explosive charge that's behind that bullet, and as soon as the bullet leaves the barrel, you've got this flame that follows the bullet. Not a big flame, maybe it would be this big if you had a photograph of the flame. Also, that goes through the baffles, when there's a silencer on there, which tends to suppress all that flame. And so the sound, instead of it being 160 decibels of noise, it cuts it down to like 125 decibels of noise. So, it suppresses it, about 30-40%, but not 90%, like you see in the movies. In the movies, you hear this pew, pew, baloney. They make more noise than that. But in the movies, they just it's super suppressed. Not so. It's a little louder. But when you're 100 yards away, it's a very low noise, as opposed to hearing a rifle, with no suppressing on the front end of the rifle. So that suppressor fits on the front end of my rifle, fits on the front end of all my Glocks, where I have threaded barrels. The handguns normally don't have, the extra half-inch length of a barrel with threading. So, you can order the gun with a threaded barrel. Some of the Model 45s, which is a 9mm handgun, by the way. 45 just means it's the 45th design of a handgun. The next one would be 46, Glock 46 and Glock 47 and Glock 49. It has nothing to do with the caliber. The Model 45 Glock is a 9mm handgun. And I have one with a threaded barrel. And I have one where there's no threaded barrel. The barrel ends with this slide. So it's a smooth front with a hole in the middle, where the bullet would come out of. Anyway, so these, I'm a little tiny handgun collector. And every once in a while we go out and shoot cans and stuff. Now there's so much population that's happened over the last, I used to take Marilyn out, to over near the, the Everglades, so to speak. And, shoot cans off a log. That's all apartments now. There's no place to shoot, so you have to go to a shooting range, which is like an indoor, it's like a bowling alley with no balls and no wood floor, just a concrete floor or whatever it is. But it's like a bowling alley and without the wood, and it's got targets on pulleys, so you can pull the targets and push push the targets back out, on rollers, on wires where the targets hang, and then you shoot the targets. You buy time, like an hour. I'd like two stalls for an hour. Okay, you can have that Wednesday, 7:30. So you book an appointment, at the shooting range, and you pay them, $30 or $40 or whatever it is to shoot for an hour or a half hour. And when your time is up, there's people behind you waiting to get in there. So you got to get your stuff and get the hell out. You got to get your crap picked up, because at the end of your time, you got to walk out with your stuff. You can't shoot until the end of the time and then pack up your stuff, because now you're eating into the next guy's time. So they have guys there's a buzzer that goes off, and it'll say 5-minute warning, and that means within 5 minutes you got to have all your stuff bagged up and you're ready to walk out the back end of that shooting range, or else you get fined. That's F-I-N-E. As in fine, like a $50 fine or something. Yeah, they penalize you if you don't get out of there on time. Yeah, because you're eating into the guy who bought the next hour or whatever. I think it's hours. That's a lot of shooting. You can buy half hours or hours, I think. You may be able to buy, 45 minutes, for that matter. A half hour is not a lot of time, because you got to unpack your stuff. That takes 5 minutes, and then you got to pack up your stuff. That takes 6 minutes. So that's, let's say, 12 minutes out of your half hour. So that leaves you 17 minutes, to shoot. Because remember, it took you 5 minutes to unpack your stuff, and it takes you 7 minutes to pack your stuff up. So that's 12 minutes out of your half hour. Yep. So that means you only have 18 minutes of shooting. That goes by pretty quickly. But if you're just going to try out a gun or something, if you're going with a couple of people, like we'd go with 4 family members, Jimmy, Marilyn, and Brendan and Daniel. So there are 4 of us. So two people shoot, and 2 people stand behind them, and then they shoot out a magazine, and then they roll their targets up, and then they put new targets on, roll them back out 50 yards or whatever distance you want to use, and then the next 2 shoot. And it takes 4 or 5 minutes to shoot a clip, because you just don't bang bang bang, you don't do that. You shoot 2, and then look at the target, see how you did. Shoot 2 or 3 more. Look at your target, see how you did. Shoot another one. You're trying to get the middle of the target. It's usually a contour of a human being. The outline of a that's what's on the target. Life size, torso kind of thing. On a piece of paper that's 2 foot tall and 18 inches wide. The width of shoulders, and head to waist, with an outline of a head, a neck, shoulders, and waistline. That's what or you can have a round target with a bullseye in the middle. Those 2 targets are probably 95% of the targets that you see at a shooting range. And you buy the targets, of course, for $5 a pack of 10 or something. It's $1 a target, 50 cents, 75 cents a target. bang, 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 you shoot it, and you fold it up and throw it away. Some people roll them up and hang them in their bedrooms. Anyway, it's an outing, so you have 45 minutes and it costs you $100 with ammunition. You got to buy their ammunition. You can't use your own. That's $20 a box, So you got to have at least 2 boxes of 9mm, and then you got to buy some targets, and you buy the time on the range. So when you add it all up, it's at least $100. Yes, sir. But it's something a little different to do. It's nice as long as you don't shoot each other or shoot someone else. Okay, so that's we're about ready for a shooting thing. I'd love to try out the suppressor too, just to see the difference, because you got this heavy barrel in the front of a handgun. You could hold on to it. It gets hot, because remember, the flame is getting absorbed inside that metal suppressor, so after a couple of shots that thing will get sizzling. So you could hold on to it for a couple of shots and then it would get too hot to hold. They have things you can buy to put on the outside of the suppressor so you can hold it. Some kind of a plastic thing you shove over the end of the suppressor. But that would help steady the handgun. So instead of just holding it by the trigger part, you'd have your hand up there holding the suppressor. All right. Oh my God, look at all those people waiting for the Trump thing. I was just looking at the screen down below. So these are all old iPads. Not this. This is a MacBook Air with an M2 chip in it. This counter, this timer, 1 hour 52 minutes is how long I've been yakking here. So this is plugged into. This is plugged into the computer. This is just a display. I got it on, one of the networks. I got the brightness turned down quite a bit so you can see what's going on with these screens. Because now you can see that screen pretty good. I don't need to slide on so much anymore. There we go. I cover this up just to take the brightness, because there we go. A little more subtleness so you can see these different displays I got going here. This is just a cloth on top of my Rodecaster. All these switches here is, which you can't see, go straight down. Hello. So you got different things to turn the music up, turn the music down. I run it right about here. When you're streaming, you always want to have some audio going through the signal. Because streaming means you have the signal that's streaming through the internet. So, if you don't have any background music, I found that the stream can shut off. So this is a simulcast with 3 different networks. Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and Twitter Live. So you can go to any one of those channels right now, and this is a live broadcast. You could actually call me on my phone, and it would answer into the network, and you could have a live conversation with somebody if they'd call. Yeah, it's all that. Now the phone is connected with Bluetooth into my my Rodecaster Pro. So, and I have it balanced so that the audio is right. If I talk on the phone, I mean, I could call somebody right now and they'd be on the air. Anyway, so it's a simulcast, and you can see the different displays in this little tiny. I mean, this is a little tiny. This is a 5-foot table by 4 foot, 6 foot by 4 foot. So Marilyn's got 20 inches on that side. I got 24 inches on this side. We each have 24 inches. I put a blue line right down the middle with tape. I got this half and you got that half. So I got all this stuff, buried in my half of the table. So this is my little, a wood thing here. This is my workbench. And I got this is a good iPad. I mean, this is the newest model. I think it's an M2 chip. Let's go to General, yeah, and then About. M4 chip, yeah. Now I didn't buy this new. So Marilyn, don't get upset with me. My old iPad broke. The battery wouldn't take a charge anymore. And we have an insurance company that covers you for defective electronics, anything. My big screen TV, my printers, I pay $30 a month or something, and all my electronic devices in this entire apartment are covered with insurance. So when I had a defective iPad, there's no out of warranty, in warranty. They don't care how old it is or how new it is. They just want to know what it is. And so you call them up and say, hey, my iPad won't take a charge anymore. They said, okay, send it in. We'll send you FedEx a replacement. You'll get it tomorrow. And then in that package, you put your damaged iPad in there and send it to the pre-printed label that we have on that box. And that goes right back to them, and they check it off that they got it. And I take a picture of it that I sent it. So I have some evidence. When I hand it to the postal clerk, I get a receipt. You got to do all this because in case they lose it somehow or other, I can prove I sent it in their box. Because I have a picture of it in their box. And I got a receipt from the postal clerk. Yeah. So you just have to do a few things so you protect yourself in case there's a slip up on their end. I've had, with AT&T, they lost a package I sent back. And they tried to charge me for another phone. Because if you don't send your phone in, they charge you. So you end up with 2 phones instead of just the one. No, I don't want to. Yeah, so. There's the Fed rate changes. Well, that's quite a chart. Jeez. They just dropped the interest rate 50 basis points today. Now, is that a political move or not? That's a little too dark. There we go. See, now you can see it. Whoops. Now you can see it. That's kind of amazing. I mean, you can't hear it. But you can see it anyway, at least. I could put closed caption on there. Let's see if I can do that. I can do AirPlay and send it to my MacBook. I have it wired. I don't see where I can. I don't see a settings thing where I can do the closed captioning. They may not have closed captioning on the RSBN network. They'd have to pay for that. The transmitter, whoever is sending the signal, like ABC, NBC, they pay a fee for a company to transcribe and with the closed captioning. Now, in your TV at home or in your office, you can turn on the closed captioning, but it's being sent by the network that's capturing the video, that's transmitting the signal. So they pay a fee to have an accompanying signal with the closed captioning. Yeah. So this arena at Uniondale is, oh my God, it's huge. I guess it's 4 o'clock. Yeah, it's 4 o'clock Eastern. So it's starting to get dark up there because, they're coming out of winter or they're going into winter. Yeah. Jeez. It looks like it's dark. Either that or all those people on the outside are waiting to get in this big arena. Maybe that's, this is probably an indoor arena with millions of people standing outside. They're not going to be able to fit all these people in this arena. That's what's going on. It's not dark outside yet. That's just the interior lighting of this Uniondale arena. Yeah, oh yeah. That's what it is. So they're all loading up in this 20,000 seat arena. And these are two, RSBN network people that are talking their way through the next, he ain't coming on, he's not coming on until 7, it's 4. So they got 3 hours of yakking. So that's wild. So, you can pick us up on something, but, RSBN, they'll cover the entire event. Not only that, they're covering, hours in advance of the event. And they'll carry on, like 30 minutes after the event, after Trump is done. And people are starting to leave. They're still, then they get up and start talking again. When Trump is on, these guys go away. It's strictly Trump in the middle of the screen, and the lens on the camera zooms in so that Trump's torso fills the screen. Yeah, like you're used to seeing on any of the other networks. Yep. So the Fed dropped the interest rate by 50 basis points. And the stock market is down. It went up for a minute and then went down. Because the people said, oh my God, why are they dropping rates? Well, because the country is slipping into recession. People aren't getting hired at the same levels. So employment is going down. Earnings are starting to go down. Here you got Tupperware just filed for bankruptcy. Other companies are going to follow suit. And the stock people say, oh, geez, we're at a peak. I think it's time to start liquidating some stuff. And you find gold is up, and the stock market will start to come down a bit. That's just Jimmy's. Now, when I say that, the stock market will then rocket straight up. Because whatever I think, it does the opposite. Yes, sir. Dow was down 103. And let's see what gold is doing before I go. It's probably $25.80 or something. $2,580 an ounce. I'm looking at these numbers down here below. The Dow. That's Dow, NASDAQ, S&P. Come on, how about metals? How about silver? Gold? Yeah. This ticker isn't so good. There's the treasury yields, and they're going up. Bond yields. That's Cavuto over there. Up here in this corner, you can't see. That one's so good. I can get the network on this one, which would then beam over here. But I think that's why Twitter knocked me off, because I was rebroadcasting a national, directly in line. And they frown on that, apparently. They blocked me. They cut me off. They said, your account is suspended. Now, they didn't tell me why, and they just said I didn't follow the rules. Well, what rule? 15.307, what the... They haven't told me. I sent them a text message or an email. No response. Yeah. So I just had to open up a new account. But that's why it has a different handle than the other two, because it's FAU for you on all the others except for Twitter, because I had to open up another account. They got my FAU for you tied up in a suspended account. Oh boy. And you can't talk to anybody. There's no phone numbers. And they don't have a system of, allowing you to communicate with anybody. Because that means they would have to answer. And they don't want to answer. Then it requires staffing. Yeah, maybe someday they'll have a robot. Yeah, I've been reading, as a matter of fact, when I get off this, I'll probably be on YouTube Live. I seem to like that one. The quality is always pretty good. Because even this is a live broadcast, and when it ends, whenever we end, which will be soon, then there's an end point on this broadcast, and it stays up there. It's there forever. You could type in FAU for you and look for September 18th, and you'll see this slightly over 2-hour broadcast, which is all recorded and there basically forever. I don't know when it would discontinue, but you got all this digital data, ends up on servers, but it's searchable and you can find it. Yeah. And I don't do this every day. I try to do it every day, but I wasn't feeling well last week. I got a little sick, some kind of flu cold thing. So it took me off the air 4 or 5 days. So I'm back. Feeling much better. Thank you very much. Yep. I got my iced tea here. Actually, it's hot tea, but now it's not hot anymore. It's warm tea. Warm and old. Yeah, we'll get rid of that. Yeah, we don't like that. Okay. So I think I'm done. We've done some newsy stuff. We have exploding beepers, and then 2 days later, the Musant, I'm assuming, also loaded up a bunch of radios. They found out, with their sneaky peeky stuff, they found out what brand, and who's manufacturing radios for Hezbollah and for, the entire military side of things in Iran. And they have a supplier, with us, it's like Motorola. I don't know who. Some Chinese company probably that, Iran is dealing with. Well, they diverted some shipments of the beepers and the radios for the more senior people. And they loaded them up with explosives and tied it to a code of some sort, so that sometime in the future So they did this 5-6 months ago. And now they're in circulation. And 2 days ago, they exploded, like 3,000 of the beepers. And 2,800 people were injured. 2,800 people simultaneously, bam, all of a sudden had their faces blown up. Because, you get a beeper, it beeps twice, you pick it up and you look at it, and all of a sudden it explodes. So you got a lot of people, that, at least 30 that are dead, and people that had them, stuck on their waistband, had their guts blown out. And then 2 days later, which is today, Mossad pushed another button, and 1,000 radios blew up. Oh God! So now you got. Just think of how terrorized these Iranians are, because they've got two different kinds of devices that now have exploded. Now, is their TV going to explode next? How about the telephones? Well, everyone's got cell phones, so that's another thing. Now. Are there a bunch of cell phones loaded with explosives? And all of a sudden, your phone rings because Mossad pushed a button and everyone's phone rings at the same time. You pick it up to answer it, bam, blows off the side of your head. I'm making that part up, but that would be us next, if there's any next to this trilogy. Oh, God. That's terrible. But, in reading about this, they apparently diverted the shipments. They found out who, Hezbollah is buying from. And when the shipment went out, they got 3,000 units diverted to the Israeli military warehouse, and they took all those things in and then carefully unpacked them, pushed them with explosives, wrapped them back up in the packages, and then put them back in the cartons and the cases exactly the way they unpacked it, and then continued the shipment on to where it was supposed to go. And so that piece of the shipment, was delayed, 4 days, however long it took to disassemble, load explosives, and reassemble, and do that, with 3,000 units. So you probably have to have 20 or 30 people, lined up on folding tables, to do that quickly enough so that the shipment could be slightly delayed and not suspicious. So you got 2 or 3 cases of these things that got delivered, and then 2 cases came later by a couple of days. So they'd have to be working that 24/7 to get that box back in the pipeline for the shipment, or else it would be late a suspicious amount of time. Anyway, so they did that, and apparently it got back in the flow, and they distributed 2,800 of these pacemakers, or not pacemakers, what do you call it, beepers, and they were using them for a few months, and 2 days ago Mossad hit a button and they all exploded at the same exact second. So they didn't have time to tell their friend to don't look at their beepers, because they all blew at the same time, and then they were spread out all over the country. Oh boy. And then of course they went to the hospital. The dead ones were dead. There were 30 that got killed. So there are 2,800 that went to the hospital. So Mossad now, gets the names and addresses of all those that got injured, so they can go target them some other way. I mean, these guys are, you know, oh God, I was in the banking business for 30 years, and one of my clients was a senior general, you know, from Mossad. Just, I mean, by accident, you know, just turns out that's what he did. You know, so we're chitting around, you know, he wants to finance condos. So we're talking, he wants to buy 5 of them for his family. And they're all in the same, it's a horizontal condo, you know, condominium houses, I think. Or no, just houses. He did buy some condos too. So he bought like 8 or 10 properties. And so he went to Royal Trust Bank, which is where I worked. And so I did, you know, like 8 loans on 8 different units. But 5 of the units were houses that filled up a whole cul-de-sac in the community down here in South Florida. So he bought half of the whole cul-de-sac for all his family to move into these houses, either as vacation homes or permanently. He was living permanently here in a condo somewhere, and he bought 3 or 4 condos also in, you know, one of the premier buildings in South Florida. I don't remember which buildings. It was 25 years ago or so. Anyway, so, you know, when you're doing that much business, it's multi-millions, you know, you get to know somebody and you get comfortable with them before you start handing out millions of dollars, you know, to this gentleman that showed up in my office. And he's all suited up, looks like Wall Street. Yeah, look, he's a exquisite looking gentleman. You know, late 40s, early 50s maybe. And he was just, you know, he had a little gray hair coming on the sides. So he, you know, he's let's say he's 52. Let's do that guess. 52, 55, somewhere in there. Yep, he was a Mossad general. And, you know, he told me a little tiny bit of, you know, what that meant. And, you know, it's kind of like the Secret Service with regard to, you know, policing. So you got regular police peoples, right? Well, then you have the Secret Service, which is a special, you know, they're like SEALs, but don't get wet. You know, Navy SEALs, they train in water and they do all kinds of marine stuff. You know, they do other things too, but it generally has to do with, you know, in the water, jumping out of airplanes, you know, parachute stuff. The Secret Service is a little more ground oriented. You know, they protect, you know, the U.S. Secret Service protects, I think I heard yesterday it was like 26. You know, they have 26 protectees. You know, that's what they call them, protectees. So they're the protectors, and the you know, the president, vice president, Trump, you know, the family members, past presidents, you know, the Bush family, you know, the Clintons, their kids. You know, you got 26, I think that was the head count, protectees. So they have, you know, thousands of, I'm going to say several thousand, I don't know the count, of Secret Service. And they're like the super duper, you know, police agency. As opposed to, you know, other agencies, you know, like the FBI and all that. So Secret Service is super duper policing, protecting kind of people that, you know, usually dressed up in suits and ties, or they can outfit themselves in, you know, in any different way, because they can. Secret Service means they're secret. You don't know, they don't run around with badges on. If they have a badge, it's on a belt behind their sport coat. They don't wear them on their shirt sleeves like the Palm Beach County Sheriff's officers, have their badge right on their chest so that the population can see that they're police. The Secret Service, they don't want you to know that they're police. They're supposed to blend. They're supposed to blend. They don't want to them not blend. So that way it's tougher for the bad guys to know who the protectors are. Because if they're trying to get to somebody, they might have to take out some of the Secret Service to get to the protectee. Anyway, so there's a question about how much protection Trump is not getting. He's supposed to get a lot, and he's not getting a lot. So they're shortchanging him a little bit on the head count. Because they didn't have anybody watching the chain link fence on the outside of, the Trump International golf thing. I mean, it's not complicated. I'm just a regular guy sitting here at a desk. You have 400 acres, right? So that's 20 acres this way, 20 acres this way. 20 times 20 is 400. So you got, if it's squares, you got 20 acres. Well, it's 209 feet on the side of a square acre. So let's just say 200 feet. So 200 feet by 20, is 2,000 feet. So you got 2,000 feet this way by 2,000 feet. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4. You got 2,000 times 4. You got 8,000 feet. So, it's how many feet in a mile, So 5,280 feet in a mile. So you multiply 2,000 feet by 5,000, you got 4 miles around this property. So you got two guys that walk, opposites around this rectangle or this square. So you need two guys. So, and they just keep going around and they could be riding in a golf cart. Or they could be on foot. They could be on foot with a dog, a sniffing dog. Either sniffing for explosive or sniffing for people. But they're not doing it. They're not covering Trump that way. They would cover if Biden showed up at the golf course. They would have, they would probably bring in the military, and they would protect the perimeter, and they'd put 4, 6, or 8 military people stationed all the way around the perimeter of the property, wherever the protectee is going to be. And of course the protectee has to tell the Secret Service whatever his calendar, so they know exactly where he's going to be when, because they have his calendar in advance. And someone like Trump or Biden or see, there's Trump landing. He just got out of his plane in Uniondale, New York. And I guess Vance is going to speak also. So there's Trump. He's shaking hands with everybody. So he's on location. See, there's a picture of the jet. Can you imagine he flies in with a 757? It's got his name on it. It's his personal jet. It's a $75 million plane. Well, you're a multi-billionaire. You can afford a $75 million airplane. Well, the campaign pays for the fuel and the landing fees and the time of the pilot payroll time and any of the stewardesses that are in the airplane. Probably at least 2, probably 3. I mean, a 757 is a big jet, and you got a lot of media that fly with them. and newspaper, TV personalities, whatever whoever's covering Trump. Some of those people are invited or request a seat on his airplane. And he has staffs that deal with all that. Yep. So he flies in. Those people go out the back end of the plane. He goes out the front door. Just him and his wife, if she's there. If Vance was on the plane, he'd come out of the plane out the front door. But all the media, they go out the back door. The tail opens down and they go out, staircase out the back. I think a 757 has its own door on the back end of the plane. But all the media people go out the back end. And the protectees come out the front end of the plane. That's one way of sorting through those people, so the Secret Service knows who to follow. I mean, they know what he looks like, but, this way, the protectees coming out the front end of the plane, everybody else out the back end of the plane. Now that we're playing Secret Service agents. What a mess. Oh my God. The question is, will Trump live for the next 48 days to get to November 5th? God. If they can't beat him, they're going to shoot him. Who knows? That's, as Trump says, it's a dangerous business. Politics is a dangerous business. He's been shot at twice. It's amazing. All the guns are pointing in one direction. That gives you a clue, right? All the guns are pointing in one direction. You don't hear about anyone shooting after, the other side of the political aisle. No, they're all shooting for the Republicans. The liberals are shooting at the Republicans. So far, all the gunfire is going in that direction. 50 years ago, 60 years ago, the Kennedys had all kinds of, they were shooting at the Democrats. And it was, the deep state, I understand. They've locked all that stuff up. Trump says he's going to unlock it all. He made a pledge to Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the nephew of JFK. JFK's brother's son, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., has been shaking hands and hugging Trump and giving him his full support. And he asked for his people to support Trump. Please support Trump. He's the best vehicle for getting done what we want to have done in society. And he's a big one on, all the poisons and stuff that are put in our food supply to, stuff that's sprayed on meat and, I don't even know what's done to these products. But if you read the packaging, it says, 0.001 through of some chemical that they use as some kind of, it's a preservative that they use to keep the meat fresh, for 8 days, so it doesn't spoil on the supermarket shelves. Well, if you eat enough of those poisons, you get cancers and things start falling off when you get older. So Kennedy is trying to get all that stuff out of the food supply. That's one of his, hot buttons. So Trump says, okay, we'll put that on our list of things to do. And, Trump, he's a doer. He'll make, pardon the expression, he'll make shit happen. He just does. He's a bull in a china shop when he gets it done, but he gets it done. And you're going to pull out, if he gets elected, he knows exactly, the jackasses to pull out of the deep state. Get rid of all these Obama people that are dispersed in the White House. The Obama people are running the White House right now. It's not the people that were elected. That's the bad part. Forget about what they do. I'm not being political. I'm just being factual. The deep state is running the United States right now. It's not Biden, and it's not Kamala Harris, who's running for office. She's running around giving speeches. She's not running the government. And Biden's, he's on the beach taking a nap. He's writing pardons for all his family and reviewing it with his attorneys. I guarantee you that's being done, or it's all done. Every one of his family, including grandchildren, they're all going to get pardons because they've all received Chinese communist money. The 3 or 4 grandchildren, got $200,000-$300,000 deposits in their accounts, cash. They never paid taxes on it. No one's ever investigated them. But the House has discovered the money in their accounts through all this money laundering, different partnerships, and a typical scheme for money laundering is you put it through a whole bunch of blind trusts and things and limited partners, and it's hard to dig through to find out who the partners are. Well, the House did that, and they got all the checking accounts. It took them years to finally get the banks, through litigation, to open up the bank files so they know what amount of money was put in what account and who's the signer on that, who owns the account, all that stuff. Well, they've tracked out like $25 million worth of stuff that's been contributed either from China or Moscow, have put money in the Biden's coffers. Sons, his brother, grandchildren, the wives. So everyone's going to get a pardon. You just write this down. I can almost say this with a certainty. I've not seen anything, and I'm surely not privy to anything that goes on in the White House. I'm 1,500 miles away, and I'm on the 8th floor of some building somewhere in downtown Boca Raton. So I have no connection with the White House. But I listened to what the House Select Committee has developed. When you watch the news at night, they talk about this stuff. And I listen. I don't take notes, but I listen. And I understand there's like 24 or $25 million worth of money. Let's see if I can do a print screen on this. I can. Look at that. That's the crowd on RSBN. I can't do a print screen when it's a regular network. There we go. They did it. They got like a screen within a screen over there in the corner, and they're showing all these people in the bottom part of this arena in Uniondale, New York, live, 4:41 p.m. Okay, I'm going to say good afternoon. 4:42. We had our place cleaned up. Marilyn will be getting home soon, probably. Although we can see where she is. Guess I can log in to the Tesla. The Tesla has a cellular system in it, and I have the app loaded on my iPad here. And I do location. Oh, she's parked. She's in the building. Okay, that's a reason to say goodnight. Okay, folks, have a great day.